Happy Eric. Oh my God, that's a lot.
Is it good?
Yeah.
Yeah, baby.
You know our favorite topic. COVID's over.
Because we're a bunch of pussies scared of COVID still.
I know somebody hopped into our show last week just to write some crappy comment like, "Oh, you've followed all the not propaganda, but whatever." Anyway, that's what our country looks like now. But also just know that the CDC announced it will no longer provide daily updates on COVID cases and deaths, and instead will do it weekly. Also, we're hearing that the director of the Institute for Health Metrics and Evaluation estimates that only 4 to 5% of infections are being reported. So we really have no idea. You have the tools, and everyone should take care of himself, and they don't give you the tools.
Yeah, so obviously we should stop reporting on it daily. Meanwhile, I mean, like the daily death total with Trump was like, that was the #1 caption on the news every night, like daily death count. Remember that?
Yep. It was a ticker at the bottom. Yeah. Hospitals in Ontario are overrun with COVID cases again. Sorry.
Yeah. So this week, a big report came out. Oh, this is the 63. See this, my number earlier?
Yeah.
I said 63,000 people. Forget I said that. That was all made up. Entirely made up. Because the 62 from this.
Wait, I don't even know what you're talking about. I wasn't listening. I tuned you out. No, what?
At some point I was talking about some number and I was like, 63,000 people. But it was
no, we were talking about the 6,500 people who were being helped by Biden's
no, never mind. But I brought
really wasn't sorry. Right.
There was some study I reported I was bringing up earlier. It was a poll and I was like, it's 63,000 people they polled.
Okay.
And that was wrong. It was like 8 people. Never take us seriously.
Yeah, please.
But anyway, the bottom line of the report, it's a huge report with a lot of people, and they're showing that, the obvious thing that 5 days was never the right amount to quarantine after COVID. You can't just isolate for 5 days and not be cured. You need to test your way out of COVID and prove you're you're not transmitting the virus.
Right.
All the studies say you should be really 10 days post testing.
Past guidance saying people could leave isolation after 5 days may be the single biggest controllable contributor to continued COVID spread. I mean, I'd argue that also not masking. If CDC had recommended tests to leave and the administration had provided those tests, which we're now getting rid of, and nobody can even get their hands on tests anymore for free, many fewer infectious people would likely be out. Of course, Jerome Adams was the former guy, Trump's person, but it does not take away from what he's saying there, which is true. And of course, that was because of Delta CEO putting a lot of pressure on the administration to reduce the number of days that you had to quarantine after testing positive.
Capitalism, period, is running our country. It's not, nobody has any interest of the public. It's all about stocks, and the airlines have power.
Yeah.
So what we're seeing right now, everything that happens in Europe ends up over here.
Like 2 or 3 weeks later. Yeah.
That's how it's always been. So right now in Germany, for example, they're seeing the fastest spike they've seen in a year right now. So this chart doesn't look that bad. It looks like, we're less, if you look at the right, they're way less than their peak. But the point is, from the bottom of that curve, the last curve, to the top is the sharpest response they've seen. So it's going up
it's spiking faster than it normally
is. Incredibly fast. And we are headed into winter. We're not in winter yet. So when winter hits us here with our laissez-faire attitude with kids in school, and kids are coming home and transmitting COVID like absolute fucking crazy. If you look at us, here's us in the world. We're leading in COVID deaths. So this spike that's coming is going to be fucking bad.
Yeah.
And this latest variant is coming over. It has a name. It's okay. So they finally named it, and it's an
Eterna. I'm going to call it
unmemorable
Eterna.
name.
Like eternally, Eterna. Like we're
Yeah.
eternally going to be plagued by this virus.
So I read this article, and basically they think this one's going to take over next, COVID BA 4.6, and it's defeating the tools that we have to fight COVID, more or less. So that's
which we are defeating ourselves on the tools that we already had, right? Because anybody who's not insured doesn't get to test or treat for free anymore. We don't have as many at-home rapid tests anymore. We are taking away the transmission map from the CDC. So all of the tools, we haven't purified the air in most schools or public buildings, no mask mandate, no vaccine mandate. Just recently, there was a study that showed that in places where they encourage masking, there is a higher percentage of people who boost and vaccinate and boost, because when you tell people the virus is over, the pandemic's over,
that's the whole thing.
They don't think they need to protect themselves anymore.
Yeah. When you see things as left and right, good guys, Democrats, bad guys, Republicans, if you're a center-C Democrat, you hear your good guy team saying the pandemic's over. It's human nature to just fall in line. You know, I mean, I don't see, like, I've always been a free thinker. I'm researching. Like, if something's going to affect my life, I'm going to research it. I'm going to read these studies, but a lot of people just don't think like that. A lot of people don't have the liberty and the time to keep reading articles, and, you know, they have to work. They have to make the rent. Their kids have to go to school. What are they going to do? You know, so at some point, people just want to just have collective brainwashing.
But the thing that I think, but again, it's like another, tail wagging the dog, where one study after another, or poll after another, showed that a majority of the people in the country, even in the reddest states that liberals like to be like, go die, said, that they were in favor of mask mandates when there were spikes in COVID and other protections. And instead, we got this constant drumbeat and a manufactured narrative that people are just over it, and COVID's over, and we have the tools, and it's individual responsibility. And I think if you instead foster an idea that we're in this together, it's public health, look out for your neighbors. This project of pull yourself up by your bootstraps and individualism, rugged individualism, it's bipartisan, and it's all to serve capital, right? So, but I do think that people could be pushed the other way, but there's just no intention by the Biden regime to do that.
They have to be misinformed intentionally to not take your own threats, your own personal threats seriously. You have to be propagandized to not, like, I feel like if people know what I know, what you know, if they actually knew that stuff, they would take their own safety more seriously, especially the safety of their kids. It's one thing, your personal risk, but the idea is that they've sold the world on this idea that long COVID is not even a thing.
Yep. And that we're all going to get it anyway.
Yeah. So I just wanted to show.
But I just want to say that it turns out that not only the US, but most other Western countries were influenced heavily by McKinsey, Mayor Pete's old place, on COVID management and basically how to get people back to work. So this has been a project that has been sort of orchestrated by just the biggest ghouls in the world to get everybody back to work.
Yeah. If you think of just McKinsey equals capitalism, right? So they are a firm whose whole goal is, they're just an evil group out. These evil groups exist to promote evil things that benefit industries that hire them to promote those things. And that's McKinsey. And so McKinsey is out there spreading, affecting our politicians on their COVID policy, which why are they doing it? Capitalism. So I just wanted to share a few thoughts that I thought were relevant that I found from Twitter. First guy, my library science conference is making me sign a waiver barring my family from suing them if I die of COVID because I went to their event.
Jesus
2022
Christ.
is wild. Bogwitch, if you thought you had a 1 in 5 chance of winning a lottery jackpot, you'd play all the time, right? That's so weird because those are basically the CDC's estimates of developing long COVID. 1 in 5. And long COVID, I mean, people are dying. So we'll put the list up in a second. But Turn says they asked us to make personal decisions about risk based on the data, then lied about the risk and removed the data.
Oh, yeah.
That is so accurate right there. And Kit Yates, is it normal to have 4 infection waves a year for a seasonal endemic virus? No, it is not.
Yep. I mean, and you know, when Trump said it's like the flu, everybody appropriately lambasted him on the left, titular left. But now that's what we're all supposed to think because we've got Biden in charge, and he basically just made us, swallow it down a little easier. Not us, but the country, right? I mean, he's furthering every single part of Trump's approach to this virus.
And there's no coming back from what's happening now because we're not changing policy. So right now, K through 12 has lost 21,000 workers in September. So last month alone, 21,000 K through 12 education people left. And there are 309,000 fewer teachers and support staff than pre-pandemic.
I mean, that's horrifying.
And so you're looking at, those are the teachers. And then the other industry massively affected is healthcare workers. If we don't get out of these curves, how do we change this? We can't, there's nothing that's going to change this anytime soon unless the pandemic magically morphs into some sort of, this next variant is taken over and we're all fine from it, it turns out. But that's not what's happening.
I mean, scientifically, I haven't seen a single doctor or scientist argue that that's the trajectory we should be expecting. If it happens, I will be so grateful because this sucks.
Right.
I mean, it is really hard to keep working towards something and protecting yourself when the whole country and most of the, Western world is conspiring to force everybody just to get on with it and, be disabled or die.
And I think what really bugs me is that, okay, there are the path out of this is some of the ways, some of the research that's coming up, the nasal vaccines,
right?
There are treatments that could work, but we're putting less energy into those because it's so important for us to pretend this thing is over. So there's less energy, less money, less everything into the actual things that could get us out of this.
Listen, and don't defund the police, defund the science. And we're defunding the science. And Mary, I just saw your hospital stopped mask mandates 2 weeks ago in a hospital. That's insanity.
No, I mean, there are lots of anecdotal reports of people are going in to get vaccines by people without masks, and and it's at Walgreens or something, and the person giving them the shot isn't masked, and you're in the same line as the person who's there to get a COVID treatment.
Yeah. I mean, none of the pharmacists at my pharmacy wear masks, or if every once in a while I'll see somebody wearing a mask and it's a surgical mask, which we knew since late 2020 that wasn't appropriate.
It's amazing.